have something to read first that I wrote, that the Lord put on my heart to read. So I'm going to pull up this screen to share, and then I'm going to read what the Lord gave me. And then I'm going to give you a little background just to show that there is scriptural basis for what I'm about to say. And it is the kind of message that I don't want to bring. It is another one of those that I know you're going to dislike. It would probably make most people feel like doing what they did to Philip to me, because people don't like these messages. But I'm gonna speak on it because that's what the Lord asked me to do. And I'm just gonna keep going until I can't go anymore with this video, I guess. Now, I did bring up a little background, but again, know that I was just given this message this morning, but God has been working on my heart on it for a while, and it is very rare when I say God gave me this exact word or what have you for you. I lost and one of the newer subs already. Oh, how sad. But it's one of those people who subscribes and unsubscribes and subscribes and unsubscribes. You either want to hear or you don't. You don't have to listen, but there will be a word, a reading, and I think a little link. We're going to do a little cross-referencing. So without further ado, this is a message God has been working with me on for a long time. I've been bringing information about this for a long time, but today I was just stopped in everything I was doing and made to write, and so that's what I'm going to read to you first. But I brought a screen up because people don't seem to like blank screens anymore, and because I did this video about this verse in this book a while back, and I just shared it on the community tab. You can find it over there. So I'm going to reference that right now that I've talked about this before. So this is the message that God brought to me. And I'm going to give you background for this once I'm done with it. A while ago, I had said that I still use certain words like karma because I believe it means the same thing as consent or consequences. I was probably wrong for that. Now, understand, I come from the occult, so old habits die hard. But I'm being honest with you about that. The whole point of the way I speak and knowing all the different words I know is to pull people in from a variety of different demographics. No matter where you're from, you are welcome here. Hate is what's not welcome. If you start spewing hatred or you start trying to make people agree with you by force, like that's just I can't have that. It's not welcome. It's so sad and discouraging to see people leave when you say things like that. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to bring up the channel on my phone so I can make sure it's still streaming, because I'd really rather not waste my time. If something goes wrong, then I need to address it. The sooner the better and move on, right? So this is the message that God gave to me, and it's called Karma or Christ. Now, again, I'll give you a little background. It's because I was still speaking a certain way, and I do believe that a lot of our concepts are very similar. We just use different words. However, India and things that they say with Hindu and Buddhism, some of that goes farther than what I'm speaking about, okay? Some of that, if you see India, I've never been there, but I've seen enough pictures and heard enough people talk, and I had enough people approach me on social media asking me when I was going to go there. Their whole pantheon, it's a pantheon, very openly, and it's all fallen angels, but not just fallen angels, it's like their creations. Like the elephant with all the different arms, which is an example of Shiva. Now, we think that these things are just metaphors, but things are going to come upon the earth, and they're already here, that everybody's just dismissing. And that's fine if that's where you want to dwell. I seek truth, even the uncomfortable truths. And the truth is heartbreaking in a lot of cases. Facing your own image in the mirror and saying, okay, I've messed up. I've done a lot of nasty things. That's a hard pill to swallow. Now I'm going to bring Sammy over here because he's going to be a pain. And I'm going to go ahead and read what the Lord gave me this morning. Just as he gave it to me, I didn't even have to do, like, I stopped writing things out in a certain way. And I don't call myself a prophet because I just don't. God decides what or who I am every day, not me. I cannot get into a place of self-idolatry because it leads to wrongly ordered thoughts and wrongly ordered behaviors. And for me, I get there through lack of self-esteem. And then it's a very strange, again, it's very self-idolatry, or just the idolatry as a whole, when you get wrongly ordered in your thoughts, words, and actions. It's backwards, right? It's an inversion. So God put it on my heart to read this, and I'm reading this because karma is the idea that you get what you deserve, that you get what you put out, that it's an even trade. This is why we talk about natural law, and this is why we talk about the law of Christ, the only law that Christ himself left us. If you break it down to nuts and bolts, the Sermon on the Mount, it is to love and to do all things from love. If you do things in that way, because remember, he's talking to Gentiles, he's talking to heathens, and I was raised as a heathen. This is why my walk is, I'm searching, I'm seeking, I'm looking. I was sent to church, but I was raised pretty much like a heathen. So I'm looking for truth, right? And it's always discouraging when people leave and I have to quit watching the numbers. Anyways, karma is the concept that you get what you deserve. And this is now in the peace sign with people saying, have the day you deserve, have the day you deserve, have the day you deserve. You know, that's not, that is somewhat true. That's not why Christ was here. If you're a believer in Christ, you understand that there's only so far we can go without the maker, creator, candlestick maker, the baker, the fabricator of the firmament and everything within and without of it. And I heard Elon the other day admit he did not create the firmament, so now I include the firmament because I really despise that he chose that name. And I have a sinking feeling he chose that name because it was what I started calling God when I first got called back. And I still call him the Most High, but it bothers me that nobody, even religious people, have not translated Elon's name and, oh, that's Elion. That means the Most High God. That's why they say, do you know who you're praying to? They think it's a joke. Now, of course, God, the true God, knows who you're praying to. That's why I'm doing this video, because there are a lot of voices out there and a lot of things that say they're God. And I can't fall back into a place. I cannot depend on myself because I am flawed. And I'm only flawed through my own bad choices, using in the wrong way, in the wrong agency. So the background of this message is that if you believe in karma, well, you're going to start getting what you believe in. And I brought this message on the original Berean Jen channel. And I still believe that God allowed me to have that one shut down just so that I could segue to a different time period. We're in a different time period now. We're in a period of judgment. We went from grace to judgment. Okay. Now, God is always giving grace. Don't be mistaken. But I'm talking about time period, especially America or wherever we actually are. Now, if you believe in things like karma, you're going to start getting what you believe in. God is putting his hands up and he's allowing your free will and he's allowing you to see what comes of bad choices when you use your free will to do wickedness or to try to do things that are against natural law. And this is going to be radical and it's going to be different than most things of what you hear other teachers talk about. I'm not a teacher. That's why I'm not a teacher. I'm seeking. I have put up Baruch 2:3. I did a video on this. I talk about this all the time. So again, if you believe in karma, you're going to start getting what you believe in. Here's the word that God brought to me, and I don't do this often because I don't want to fancy myself as a prophet, if God thinks I'm a prophet, well, then that's what God tells me I am. That's what God can say I am. I don't write like that. I don't seek to write like that. The Mormons, that's one of their selling points. Oh, our prophets even write like old prophets. That's not the goal, right? All the prophets of the Old Testament were different. Elijah, Elisha, they were Moses, Aaron. They were all had their own issues. Moses wasn't a good public speaker, or Aaron wasn't a good public speaker, so Moses spoke for Aaron a lot of times. I think I have that the right way around. Elijah did things in like interpretive dance and very visually. David used words and song. So God gave me this word. I'm going to bring it, and then I'm going to give you a background for it. My beloved children, once again, many warnings have been brought by my prophets, but you hear them not. You would prefer the false prophets of Mammon, Baphomet, and Apollyon, those with white jackets, some holding golden idols, and that's referring to the Emmys and the Grammys. And worse, as they are paraded across the screen, my people are and always have been the hidden, the obscure, the falsely accused, and the poor. Well, no more. You were warned that you would be given what you ask for, what you consent to, that you would receive that in which you believe. So this day, in what or whom, so choose this day in what or whom to believe, karma or Christ. Many have refused my Son, the Messiah, relying on their own works to attain eternal life. Many say they believe with their lips, but lie to themselves in their hearts, and even fewer have heeded the words I have brought forth from those closest to you. He's meaning smaller channels, smaller teachers, even your relatives sometimes. The time has come to give you that which you have asked for and consented to, that which you believe and receive as truth. So I say to you again, choose this day whom you will serve, the Lord or those who deceive, for with them what you deserve is what you will receive. Since time began, my prophets warned against spilling the blood of the innocent, both beast and man, across the land. You were told of the cannibal curse, but do you know it's twofold? For those who participate, certainly, but also for those who will be as food, for it's what you've allowed through your own agreement with doctrines of demons. So I say to you this last time, choose this day whom you will serve. For if not the law brought by my Son, you will certainly receive what you deserve. Now let me do a quick check. That is the end of the word that the Lord gave me. I will give you a quick modern day interpretation of what that means now that I've read it to you. My reference is Baruch 2:3. It is a verse from the book of Baruch, which states that a man should eat the flesh of his own son and daughter. This verse is a warning. It's not a warning about just disobedience, though. It's a warning about doing to others. Do unto others, because now you are going to start getting what you've done to others. And by others, you're not going to agree with this, but I'm going to say it anyway. By others, I mean animals, and I mean humans. I am not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a legal professional. For any types of that advice, please seek out your chosen professional. All my disclaimers are in the description box. Now you'll see I've pulled up something else for us to take a look at. Again, I get tired of being called crazy, that you don't know what you're reading, that what you're reading is wrong, you don't understand what you're reading. There's a reason these books were hidden, and it is because they are pretenders and deceivers. There is a thing that not only do we have the darkness to fight, but there's another church. Padre Pio was right. There is another one who says he is God, and he is not God. All throughout the Bible, our copy of the Bible, all throughout time, since the fall, we have gotten the voice of the true God, and our God by default, Satan, confused. This is why you have to take every spirit and test it. They tell you not to test God or not to tempt God. Again, go back to the root words here. God himself tells us to test every spirit because you just don't know. We don't know because we have the veil. And because everything down here is a little backwards and it's a reflection of what is up there. So getting what you deserve, what does that mean? Do unto others. What does that mean? Okay, I changed pages and it's not showing that on here. Hang on. I need to make sure that we're still moving and grooving. Hello? Hello? Please tell me it's working. All right, I'm going to go to my other channel and just see if I can't make sure that everything is still working with this. All right, hello? Am I still here? All right, hello? Am I still here? There we go. All right, so everything is working. Sorry, I have to do those checks because of everything that's been happening on the channel. You cannot stop God's word from going out, though. Like, it's going to go forth no matter what. I've asked God to stop hiding me. I'm not afraid of what's coming or what's here already. People need to understand there is a curse upon us, and it's not just because of what we have done to each other. It's because of what we've done to the animals, too. And I don't know how to make you understand that. But I brought the book of Jubilees up, and I'm going to show you a little bit of what the book of Jubilees has to say about all this. The book of Jubilees is pseudo-epigraph. It's extra-canonical. The Council of Nicaea, again, I believe that there is one universal church, but I also believe that we are far from that. Okay, I have enough sense to see that. And I see that they give you a little bit in each church, but not the true whole, everything you need to understand what's happening. God has warned us through so many prophets, and I've led you up to this video because as I was watching those videos of the slaughterhouses and the animals recently, and again, I'm not telling you what to eat as in like a doctor or anything like that. This is a spiritual interpretation of what is going to happen because of what wicked we've done. Men and women have actually taken the time to devise new ways to torture animals on almost a daily basis. Now, that's not kosher according to Judaism, true Judaism. That is not kosher. The animal is supposed to feel no pain, and it is supposed to be without blemish, which means you treat it well up until that point. So again, we have a lot of pretenders. We have people pretending that they are God's people. We have people pretending that they are Jews. We have people pretending that they are of the bloodline of mankind. And we have a lot of our regular men following these doctrines, and they're becoming like them. And women too, like mankind, but a lot of men specifically, because men are the grillers, they are the cookers, they are the grill masters, okay? They're the pit guys. So we're going to look at this, and then we're going to look at there goes my belly. Okay. We're going to look at this. Now, that's what the message God gave me, though, is what we are doing to them is going to be able to happen to us. I was also watching some Auschwitz things, and I was noticing a lot of similarities between Auschwitz and how we treat the pigs. Like, I had no idea that they put pigs into a gas chamber, and people are eating that. When you consume that pig, you're eating the gas that was put into that pig. Everything that we are doing at this time is going to come back to us. That is what the karma versus Christ message at the beginning of this video was all about. And now I'm going to back that up with other people's insights too, because I'm not the only one seeing this. You have got to stop listening to who the screen shows you the most. You have to seek. And now you've been warned. So I'm going to go over here. This is Carolyn Hurst, August 17th, 2021. Around my dad's birthday. That might be my dad's birthday. Did you know cannibalism is mentioned in the Bible? I just never thought I'd be writing about what the Bible has to say about people eating their children and other people. How on earth did I come to this subject? I'm working on a series of verses and posts on Passion to Know More, social media about Jesus' compassion. The word compassion is a key word in the Bible because God is described over and over as being compassionate. I went to Bible Gateway and typed in compassionate and then read through the many verses with compassionate in them, and lo and behold, Lamentations 4:10 pops up. With their own hands, compassionate women have cooked their own children who became their food when my people were destroyed. That's not a verse which you'd put on a coffee mug. I don't remember when I learned it was mentioned in the Bible about people eating their young, but I do know it fascinated me and grossed me out. Whenever I mention to anyone about people becoming so desperate that they ate their children, which honestly does not come up that often for obvious reasons, they always react shocked that cannibalism is in there. Now, you and I all know how much they have been trying to normalize this subject with the television shows that Hollywood and HBO and all these different factions have promoted. Now, if you go back a little further on YouTube and you search something called pink slime, they tell you very openly. Diane Sawyer does. I think she started talking about it. There's a reason they switched out real investigative journalists because they investigated. They went to the facilities and investigated what was happening in these facilities. Okay? Now, if you do understand the content, I'd appreciate the thumbs up. If you agree not to agree with cannibalism, I'd appreciate the thumbs up because it's disgusting that I can talk about this over and over and over again. And I don't think anyone, through me talking to them, has been converted to vegetarianism or veganism. All you have to do is watch it. If you can't watch it happening, then you shouldn't be consuming. It's that simple. If you can't be like the Native American Indians and go and get you some meat yourself, then you shouldn't be partaking of it. For health reasons, because you don't know where it comes from. For Levitical reasons, because you don't know what how they're ending that animal's life. And it is supposed to be done in a kosher and or halal manner. And none of that is happening. Cannibalism is mentioned in the Bible as a covenant curse for rejecting God and doing evil. Cannibalism is mentioned in regard to the sieges. Now you can also Google, does Pepsi use fetuses? These are things that shouldn't be allowed to happen, but for some reason they are because they put natural ingredients on it. I didn't think God would ever allow this, but it's right here. If you're doing wickedness, God is going to leave you under this curse. And Derek Prince, and I know that God has a variety of different people all over. I don't care what church branch they're in. Derek Prince, I just saw this video last night, and again, God puts these things in front of me at a specific time with a specific purpose. Derek Prince has a video called From Curse to Blessing. There's a prayer he says on there with you. Say it. Say it morning, noon, and night if you have to, until you are brought from under the curse of man back under to blessing. Because I'm convinced too that women have a menstrual cycle. Back when I was young, it was called the curse. Old women called it the curse. But nobody seemed to know where it came from. It came from our fault because we were the first ones to eat of what we weren't supposed to eat of. Perhaps, maybe. But I think it's something else. I think some women hit a certain age or they hit a certain level of spirituality and that goes away. The curse goes away. So please, if you don't believe me, go listen to Derek Prince's prayer. He'll pray it with you and I will share it after I'm finished here. So now we're going to go, I'm going to go down a little further on this article. And then, because it says it's only a minute. Cannibalism that occurred at the siege was a covenant curse. We need to back up to the keyword covenant. God made a serious with his people. Covenant is more than just a promise or contract. It is a sacred, holy promise that God and his people enter in together. He will be their God, and they will love him with all their heart and soul and might. Jesus has told us his blood is the new covenant. The covenant comes with blessings for God's people who fear him. You have to accept, receive, and believe in Jesus to get on the other side of this curse. Jesus took the curse of the blood spilling, and Jesus took the curse of death for us, which means if you truly believe, then you really actually don't have a reason to die anyway. And I know that sounds radical, and I know people don't want to hear that's hogwash. Well, you know what? You're still under the curse of death. It's that simple. If you still think we have to pass on, then you're still under that curse. I don't know what else to tell you other than start paying attention to the things around you. They're keeping you busy for a reason. They don't want you noticing things. You almost always have a handler these days. Everywhere you go, you can't go off and be alone because they don't want you seeing too much. They don't want you recognizing too much. They don't want you hearing too much. They don't want you waking up all the way because then they know they're cooked. They're done at that point. Once you're awake and you stop consenting to this balderdash, it ends. That's why every video I talk about consent and I talk about free will and use it in the proper way. And so here we go again. Somebody who speaks better than I. The covenant comes with blessings for God's people, and it comes with curses for those who reject him. Leviticus 26:29. Further, you will eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters you will eat. Chapter 26 is about the blessings of obedience and the penalties of disobedience. Let me go further though. It's not, God doesn't want us to, I'm a parent, so I know this. God doesn't want us to obey to ruin our good time. He doesn't want us to obey to have us in shackles. That's what Satan does. That's why the wicked get no rest. That's why you see celebrities playing 2, 3, and 50, 11, 22,000 parts. You know why? Because evil never rests. They have to. They're not allowed to rest. They have to keep influencing, influencing, influencing. They have to keep promoting to you how important money is. Otherwise, it all stops. That's why evil never rests. Our rest is in the fact that Jesus did it for us. That he came down and told us and showed us and walked this out. But they've hidden it. They hid it. Da Vinci was a great artist. He showed you with the Last Supper. He showed you what was by showing you what wasn't on the table. There is no animal on the table. God allowed it after the flood. That doesn't mean he prefers it either. Okay? Because now, again, we are getting what we deserve. Chapter 26 is about the blessings of obedience, and it's obedience because that's how we are kept safe. As a parent, I know that if my child sticks his fingers in the light sockets, that will harm him. So I don't have him do it. I tell him no. A parent who offers discipline is one who loves you. A parent who lets you run off and do whatever you choose does not love you. That is not love. Anyone who just gives you money and gifts all the time, that is not love. And even if they think that's love, they are still corrupting you. Some, at this time, nothing's by accident. Everything that is being done right now by the dark team is intentional. They are playing the game now. This is why so many, and they'll never admit to things. And I mean, at a certain time they may, because they have to brag and tell us how great they are and how smart they are and how much better they are, and they've been here longer, so they deserve the planet. If you start believing their lies, and most of them are in the churches teaching now, if you believe the balderdash that they are teaching in these buildings that they call churches but don't look nothing like temples, and God isn't anywhere in sight of them. Now, some of my videos are hard, and I don't deny that, because tomorrow isn't promised. Not only does God spell out for them what will happen if they break the covenant, but he also tells them if you break the covenant, there is a way to restore it. God gives them an out. And this is what I told you about computers. If there's a backdoor in computers in every app, if there's always multiple ways to do a thing, don't you think God will give us multiple ways? And I mean multiple ways to find Christ. through fairy tales, through stories, through plays, through movies, through songs. Not all of them are wicked. Some people will get proper airtime, and even their own evil is being used against them because they keep writing the same story over and over, and it's their story, only they make themselves look like the Marvel heroes. They want us to like them or whatever, some of them. And again, I'm not here to say what salvation is open to, because the book tells us, preach the gospel to all creatures. I'm pretty sure that God will do whatever he wants with a being if it comes to him. If he wants to save it, he will. If that being wants saved, he'll save it. Okay? I don't care if it says it's an alien or it's a fallen angel. And again, how long have you been hearing about the fake alien invasion being the grand deception? And some of the people talking about it are the bad teachers. They're the wolves. They want you to go against God's angels when he sends them. You have to know what you're dealing with here. They use a lot of ritual causality. They use a lot of reverse psychology, and when that doesn't work, then well, you're not very good, are you? They use the guilt trips. Like, that is them. That is them. God doesn't pull you to him that way. So God gives them an out if they confess their iniquity in their unfaithfulness, which they committed against him. And again, it's not because he's vain. This is to get you. If you unburden your soul, you'll feel better. Once you spill it, you can move on then. There's a reason confession is good for the soul. There's a reason they tried to shut those things down. And I'm not saying every priest is good. Please don't mistake me. I'm saying the process of confession is a good thing. I'm not telling you who to confess to or any of that business. Become humbled so they make amends for their iniquity. Then he will remember his covenant with them. That's in Leviticus 26:40 through 46. So again, you can come back into the blessing away from being under the curse. But you have to, when you can't just, it's not enough to say you're sorry. You have to be sorry by not consuming it anymore. That is a big problem. We are told over and over again not to eat flesh, not to eat meat. And we didn't listen. And because we didn't listen, I'm pretty sure something else is in the food supply. And again, I'm not a doctor. This has nothing to do with health. This has everything to do with truth. We are being lied to by those who think they control this realm because we let them do it and we don't say enough is enough, stop. I'm saying stop. You cannot mislabel things. You cannot keep making up new words for things. You cannot keep corrupting us. You have to gain consent. And they're doing that by these ulterior motives too. Passive consent is not a thing. It's not real. But the second you come into agreement with one of their doctrines, you could be back under the curse because you came into agreement with them. Do you see how it works? Do you see how easy it is to slip to that other side and go back under the curse? Especially when you've lived your life one way and you don't, because when you go against the people or the ones who have been controlling you this whole time, it feels like disobedience. It feels wrong. God is spirit. He can't smell something cooking anyways. He's not going to tell you that smells good. Not every voice is God's, and not every voice that says he's God is God. I've seen pastors calling themselves God. What is that? Stephen Furtick. He called himself God. Is he God? I don't even know him, so he's definitely not my God. I know Christ, and I've never seen him face to face. I've seen Stephen Furtick on a screen. Christ, I don't know exactly what he looks like, but I can definitely tell you I know him. I know his spirit. We got to get it. The material is here for a reason, and it is not all wicked, but neither is it what should be leading us. Spirit comes first. If you want to get to like order of operations matters, right? If you're doing algebra, you have to do a formula in the proper order or it all goes to shit, basically. And I know this because math is not my forte, or at least they wanted me to think it wasn't. I always worked so hard on it too. But you see what I'm getting at? All right, so these are the statutes and ordinances and laws which the Lord established between himself and the sons of Israel through Moses at Mount Sinai, Leviticus 26:46. And just because Moses had horns, and just because Moses had a staff, and just because Moses had a cape like Gandalf, does that make him a wizard or a sorcerer? You have to, again, break these things down and look with the eyes in your mind. And I don't know why certain beings don't have internal dialogue. If they have internal dialogue, that would have to mean they can't read. Because when you read quietly to yourself, that's all you're doing is reading to yourself. And now that I think of it, some of these pastors, I've never actually, they take the Bible with them, but they don't read it. Maybe that's why they can only do sigils and symbols. Maybe they legitimately don't know how to read, some of them. And I did a video like that. I did a video a long time ago saying I don't think they can read. And I don't know. I think they use us in this way for certain things. God gave us language for a reason. Like, God wanted us to be able to communicate. God sets the rules. This is what happens if you enter the covenant and are obedient. You are blessed. This is what happens if you break the covenant. You will be cursed. But even if you break the covenant and return and repent, you can be restored in the covenant with God, meaning you can come back under blessing and get away from being under the curse. God's people knew full well what the Lord their God required of them. They were to fear the Lord their God, to walk in all his ways and love him, and to serve the Lord their God with all their heart and all their soul, to keep the Lord's commandments and his statutes. Why, though? Why? Is it because he's a narcissist? No. It's because that's what keeps us safe. It's what keeps us away from these other ones. It's what keeps us under God's blessing and basically away from the demonic frequency. They cannot touch you if you have the full armor of God. And the full armor of God can only be found under the blessing of God. And it comes when you are walking in righteousness, the girdle of truth, the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, which is your tongue, wielding your free will properly and making godly choices. It is not because he's a narcissist, it's because he loves us. And I know this as a parent, like I know it as a woman. I know it. Just like I know the sky is blue. I know it. Okay? It's so discouraging to see all of these people falling for this stuff. And I hope it's just people on the screen. And then you say, well, I hope it's just, the wicked. But even then, it's still creations of God's. So we have to have compassion right now for all of God's creations, because what we are doing to the animals, it is wrong because it's not kosher. And God has told us over and over and over again, if we're going to do that, well, then we have to do it a certain type of way. And the only reason he allowed that after the flood is because there wasn't a lot of food. Like, seriously, we need to stop listening to ourselves. Like just stop, because when you get so far off track that you don't remember anymore what way to go. You get lost. You need the map again. You need to be given the instructions again. This is why they tell you, don't fall back asleep. Moses proceeds to go over the rewards of obedience and all the statutes again, and then you get to Deuteronomy chapter 28, and the consequences of disobedience are again repeated. And this is where the second time cannibalism is mentioned. Deuteronomy 28:53. Then you shall eat the offspring of your own body, the flesh of your sons and of your daughters, so that he will not give even one of them any of the flesh of his children, which he will eat, since he has nothing else left during the siege and the distress. She will eat them secretly for lack of anything else during the siege and the distress. Gee, we're often told peace and safety will lead to sudden destruction. Peace, safety, siege, distress. Sounds like the polar opposite, right? Sounds like two things that could happen at the same time. Do you see what I mean when I say there's two timelines here? During the siege and the distress, peace and safety. Sudden destruction, then you have siege and distress. Okay? People are going to start being very open about doing this. Like, I'm not even kidding. There's a reason, and we're being told that all these babies are being had, and this is. And you know what else I saw? I saw at Coachella the other day, and again, I wanted to watch the extreme polarization because we're seeing it happen now. The wheats and the tares, and like it's becoming pretty obvious, at least on the screen. They're putting these groups that they're showing us what's happening. And I watch the people go into these paid showers and wait hours in line for a shower because they can't even go weekend camping without a shower or whatever. And it's the poor side, the alleged poor side, and they go in, and because again I just watched these and again this is from the message in the beginning, so I'm trying really hard to find the right words. Because I just watched those slaughterhouse videos, I recognized it instantly as being like the stalls that you see the mother cows go into to get milked. That's what the showers look like. It didn't look, they said the water pressure was so bad. It didn't look like water. It looked like I didn't see what actually came out, but I'm telling you the stall itself looked like it had the red and blue at the top like you see in the cow stalls where they go to get milked. Now again, they're telling us something without telling us. They will have no license to do some of these heinous things to you if you but stop participating in the consuming of these non-kosher, tortured animals. Otherwise, what is being done to them might possibly happen to you. If you want to hear the word God gave me, go back to the beginning of the video. This is a very hard video for me. It puts me in fear of the Lord because he's giving these strong words for me to write, and I'm like, I don't want to say that, and I don't even want to read it because it's frightening, and because please, let me not fall into that state. Please don't let my family, I'm not food, but I don't want to, be a cannibal either. Like neither parts of those is good for me. That's why it's a twofold curse. If you are doing that and participating, well, then you are going to now be in the conveyor belt for that label, so to speak. I'm trying to explain this in as many different ways as possible so that no matter who finds this video will understand it. The goal is to have you healthy and safe and under God's blessings. Because if you don't, bad, wicked things can happen. Certain things might happen to me that I never consented to. I wasn't asked, at least not in any way that I understood, and not in any language that I understood. I never consented to being some guinea pig for human experimentation ever. But I was taken every week to the doctors to get allergy shots by my mother, and I was given medicine every day by my grandmother. For years they did this because I was not blind enough. I'm convinced that's why they did it. For years they did it because I had the nerve to tell them no when they wanted me to do things or eat things that I did not want to do or eat. And eventually it worked. Eventually I just forgot. And I never saw that as abuse. I saw it as love for a long time, because we're told if they love you, they'll do this for you. Do you see what I mean by being backwards? We have to get back to the basic foundations here. If you don't know where your food is coming from, don't eat it. And what is food? The first sin was eating. And they got people on what do they call it? A carnivore diet. They're telling you. They're admitting to you. They are going to be the cannibals. They might already be the cannibals. They can't put it down. They can't say no. It's an addiction. Oh my gosh. Please hold. Okay. Yeah, because they don't want this video coming up. Samson! I apologize. The dogs went around a little bit there for a second. Well, I blame the demoniacs. Okay. So, Do the people break the covenant? They do. Do the curses come true? They do. It wasn't like the nations that sinned one time and these covenant curses rained down. No, the nations did evil in the sight of the Lord for centuries. God is patient. God repeatedly sent them prophets who told of what was to come and to warn the people to change their ways. I hadn't read this whole thing when I sat down with you guys, but she's saying a lot of what I was about to say, so I'm really glad. Not because I don't trust my own words or anything, but because this is proof that I'm not the only one seeing these things. And sometimes when you see it all laid out verse by verse by verse, I could fill a notebook. I almost did fill a notebook with all the verses that refer to not eating animals in the Bible. I filled almost a whole notebook. They're not reading you the whole thing. Some of them probably don't know how to read. That's why their histories are oral. God repeatedly sent them prophets who told of what was to come and to warn the people to change their ways. There was occasionally a revival amongst the people, but for the most part, they ignored the prophets. God told them from the get-go that these are the blessings and curses of the covenant. They agreed to enter the covenant. They broke it. God warned them through many prophets. They ignored the prophets. Our just God just judged them, but in his great mercy, he always left a remnant who entered back into the covenant. I wonder how many vegetarian Christians there are right now. I wonder how many who are true Christ followers and believers who don't eat the meat that they're feeding everybody right now. I'm curious about that. We learn God is slow to anger. We learn God is faithful to his word. We learn God is just. And the 2 Kings 6:28 through 29. And the king said to her, "What is the matter with you?" And she answered, "This woman said to me, 'Give your son that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow.' So we boiled my son and ate him. And I said to her on the next day, 'Give your son that we may eat him.' But she has hidden her son." Who like this is women. This is mothers. If mothers can get taken to this point and we are the bringers of life into this realm, what is it to say of our men? I am not out of line when I tell you our men are almost 100% in error today. Almost 100% of the men are in error. And it's up to us to try and bring them out of this, but not force it either. It has to be everyone's own choice, but you have to know there's a choice to begin with. People think they need this to live. Well, if this world is the opposite, it's killing you. It's killing you. I'm not a doctor. No, part of this is medical advice. I don't even know what medical means. I know what cure and blessing and curse means. I can't like this is why I don't read the Old Testament, because I knew it would make me riled. So we boiled she hid her son. So see, this is why you also don't make deals with demons, because they get you to do wickedness and then they don't keep their end of the bargain. They don't have the promises. They're making our men all these promises that they don't have the right to make. None of what they say is true. Everything they have, they borrow from God. They don't even borrow, they steal. And they don't even steal it right. God still has everything in his hand. They just say they have it. The siege of Samaria, the capital of the northern kingdom, was so severe that the people resorted to cannibalism. The verses in 2 Kings have to do with an earlier siege of Samaria under the Arameans. This is a depth of sin that was predicted earlier and is shocking. It is, because I couldn't do this. Jeremiah, all these ones are rough too. Then we go to Jeremiah 19:9. I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters, and they will eat one another's flesh in the siege and in the distress with which their enemies and those who seek their life will distress them. In the distress with which their enemies. See, distress, I wonder if that's did they replace that word with curse? Life will curse, seek the life will distress them. Jeremiah predicted that the citizens of Jerusalem would do this during the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem. And look, there are cannibalism shows everywhere now. News anchors went to some alleged tribe and ate people. So I don't want to hear anything about censorship. I don't consent to that either. I ask God himself to stop hiding me. I'm not dealing with it anymore. People need to know. They need to have the choice. Then we get to Lamentations 2:20. Should women eat their offspring, the little ones who were born healthy? And Lamentations 4:10, the hands of compassionate women boiled their own children, and they became food for them. They use all these fancy words that they make up and create so that, and they say they're hateful. Oh, for you to say such things is hateful. It's not hate. Truth isn't hateful. It's heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking that their kind got our kind to do this thing. Because this came from the fallen directly. It's probably why, well, I'll get to that aspect another time. It's probably why God's allowing angels to be captured and harnessed. That's all I'm going to say on that right now. I've talked about it in my CERN videos. All you have to do is know the meaning of words to dissect what they're saying, and they're saying it all very openly. They're capturing angels. They're using and harnessing the energy of angels. Fallen angels, I don't know. Holy angels, I don't know. But I don't, if it's God's holy angels, I do not consent. I just want to make it very clear. In Ezekiel 5:10, therefore fathers will eat their sons among you, and sons will eat their fathers, for I will execute judgments on you and scatter all your remnant to every wind. And that's also probably has a lot to do with why there are orphan trains. Well, here they'll never eat their own. We've got to say, you know what I mean? Like something very bizarre that way. Ezekiel 5:10, this is during the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem, 588 to 586 BC. Remember, cannibalism was prohibited in the law of Moses and was denounced by prophets. This is the whole point, though. This isn't what God wanted for his people. They broke their covenant with God and resorted to unimaginable evil. And it's not just about cannibalism, though, either. Like I said, we weren't supposed to eat those animals. Like that's not what was part of this. God, why would the Father of creation have Adam name them if he wanted us to then eat them? That's not the Father of creation. That's not Jesus's Father. Now, I'm not saying the whole Old Testament is, I'm saying that voice, that one who kind of tries to demand that and is legalistic. God wants us to follow the law, but natural law, things that are easy. It's written in our heart. Everyone is inherently, even heathen religious, you're all born the same. Everyone inherently has certain knowledge, and most of us as children did not want to eat animals. I didn't. I told my dad no. My son told me no, and still I made him because I was made to. And now this is my repentance. This is my repentance in action. And I'm hoping, even though I'm not perfect, that it is the perfect, what do they call it? My mind's on too many different tracks, but I'm hoping it's the perfect repentance, because when you do that in front of God, it gives you a special blessing, and I'm praying to give those to my children, but I'll continue. And finally, we get to AD 70 and the Roman siege of Jerusalem, which was recorded by Josephus in the Wars of the Jews 634. A woman who had fled to Jerusalem killed her son, roasted him, ate one half, concealed, and saved the rest. When you read about the sieges of Samaria and Jerusalem in the Bible, you don't get a sense of how bad they were. The Bible just tells you this happened, and matter-of-factly, but the sieges were horrific. And we know this mainly because of archaeological finds. The Assyrians talk about, can you see that? I'm going to highlight it. The Assyrians talk about this. The perfect act of contrition. That's what it's called. That's what this effort is for me, I hope. Not that I'm perfect. I hope that the act itself is perfect for my children. Okay, so the Assyrians talk about doing this to people while they were alive. Why would they get legal right to do that now? I gave you the word earlier. The Sermon on the Mount says, do unto others as you'd have done to yourself. You're allowing this to be done. You are feeding yourself with these things, and you don't even watch it. Like, you don't hunt, you don't fish. And most of you, I know, because I fished with you, you cry when you have to kill a worm. So if you're that type of person, just stop eating it, because you're definitely not going to like what comes next, because it's a twofold curse. It's not just a curse for the people who participate. It's a curse, obviously, for the people who become the food. Babylonians were also brutal. Yes, dude, and so were the Norse. They all are. They don't have compassion, guys, like us. Maybe if they didn't eat like they eat, maybe if they didn't eat so much red meat and have these like strict carnivore diets, maybe they wouldn't be like this. But they can't be trusted, and they just can't. The people would flee to the walled cities for protection. The whole point of a siege was to starve the people for years. Yes, years. To the where they became so weak they were easily conquered. Sieges were a common practice of warfare. Excuse me. Which is what their America is under siege as a whole nation. We should have been better to people, especially if we truly have other lands around us to our north and south. We should have been better to people. But I'm not. Most of us have been hard workers and decent neighbors, most of the time. And by that I mean on a human level. I'm not talking about God standards. I'm talking about morally to each other. But our leaders and the people, we've done a lot of wicked things, and they steal our young men. It's all about corruption. Like, people think it's all about money. The people who think about that it's all about money, they're still under the god of Mammon. Like, Mammon's their god, man. Like, we really got to understand here that there is a pantheon. Like, it does exist, but it's not our god. Like, that's not, I don't know how to express, we are not to be interacting with them in that way. Unless God sends a messenger to us, we're not supposed to be offering them sacrifices. This is why we're in the boat we're in. Fallen angels were the false idols of the Old Testament. That is who we were sacrificing to. And they were consuming. And they fell even more because of that. That's probably why the black eyes. But they are still somewhat angelic, so the actual beings that they produce have these lovely blue eyes for some reason. And again, we're not dealing with just one line. I mean, there's a few different, they have their own factions too, and they argue amongst themselves. And that's what, just try to stay out of the way when they start arguing with each other, because that doesn't even involve humans. The Assyrians talk about doing that to people while they were alive, beheading others and putting their heads on poles and lining the roads. The Babylonians were also brutal. The people would flee to walled cities for protection. The whole point of a siege was to starve the people for years to where they became so weak they were easily conquered. Sieges were a common practice of warfare. The people became so starved they resorted to eating grass and cannibalism. Most died. Then the invading armies would slaughter the few still alive or take them as slaves. Now remember, this is pre-Christ. What are we to make of all this? I have 4 takeaways from thinking about the covenant curse of cannibalism. Yeah, we don't have to wonder or think what he expects us, but we're still not reading it right now. I'm going to move to the book of Jubilees. I just found this. Make sure that it shares with y'all. Or my one lone monitor or whatever. There we go. Now, this is the book of Jubilees, chapter 5. But I'm going to read this short part now. And then maybe tonight or tomorrow, I will get back to, we'll read the whole thing of Jubilees, and we'll get into Jasher a little bit too, because again, people need to know these things. I might have already known it, but I never read the complete book of Jubilees or Jasher to know that these were in there. And if I would have back then I would have known that my instincts were right, but God allows all things in his time, and I probably wouldn't have been as open to it. Even if I would have seen it, I wouldn't have understood it like I do today. Now, it gets to a point where they talk about the women and the angels cohabitating. Now, please understand, those women were forced into that. So everyone is saying that they are being punished or they deserve their punishment. A lot of those women were forced into it. They didn't even know it had occurred. So just like God doesn't hold slaves responsible, he doesn't hold those women responsible either. The ones who consented and knew what they were doing and were happy to go on being witches or whatever, then those ones probably might be punished. I don't know, but I know enough to know just enough. I know that God is just and he's not going to punish you for something you have no clue about. Chapter 5, and it came to pass but as you age, as you become spiritually mature, you're expected to know more, no matter who you are. Like, so avoiding information either, like intentional ignorance, that's not acceptable. Like true ignorance, if you just don't know and you've never come across the information, but I don't think that's how God works. Like, everyone is going to have heard the gospel in some way, shape, or form, or it's going to be in their hearts in some way, shape, or form. Like, there's not going to be an excuse for that. So, and it came to pass when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of God saw them in a certain. Now, this is why I chose Jubilee, because I couldn't decide if I should go to Jasher or Jubilee today, but I want you to see this, because we can maybe figure out what day this is, and we can say why this is happening again. Because weren't we just in a year of Jubilee not long ago? When I started talking about the fallen angels, talking about they're here again. Somehow they're here. And it came to pass when the children of men began to multiply in the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them, that the angels of God saw them in a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon. And they took themselves wives of all whom they chose. And they bare unto them sons, and they were giants. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle and beasts and birds, and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. When you get out of order and your mental hierarchy is not the way it should be, and everything is upside down and inverted within you, your interior castle, okay? All of your ways become disordered too. When your thoughts become disordered, your words become disordered. When your words become disordered, your ways become disordered. And you cannot hide this from someone who is not disordered. I keep telling people around me, look, I know, like, just stop lying to me. At least stop doing that. And not for my sake, for yours. Like, every single time you lie, like you're just adding on to your own. Like, you didn't want to accept Christ, so you're going to be judged for every word. Those who accept Christ are not judged the same. We're told that very clearly. But you can't just say you believe, you have to actually believe. Again, God no. I don't want this one to go on too much longer, so I'm going to get back to the slow part I want to read you guys. Okay, so lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its ways, right? Men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth, all of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other, and lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was thus evil continuously. And I really don't want to hear like that telepathy and all these things are fake, or that it's from wickedness. When you don't have poison in your body, when you are very careful about what you consume, you can see even more. I still smoke and drink pop. If I did not do those two things, I would probably see even more. God is opening, and there's not, sooner or later, everybody's eyes are going to see what's here with us and what's always been here, the good, the bad, the ugly. Then you're going to make your choice. Well, most people have already made their choice. Those who believe without sight are blessed too. There's a blessing in believing without sight. Everybody that demands to see things, like, well, and in truth, I mean, I don't mean in just like any old thing somebody tells you. I mean in like the resurrection, things like that, transmutation, faith, right? Okay, so they were evil continually, and God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was all corrupt, all the flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth, which he had created. And God has to intervene again, or else all flesh will be gone. Why do you think he says that? Everyone says it's transhumanism. Guys, it's cannibalism. God can fix anything other than what you yourself consent to and agree to. And even that, when you repent, he can fix anything. Now, the mark, that's why there's tribulation saints, because people who change their mind after receiving the mark will be martyrs. Everyone has all ordered. You're listening to the wrong teachers because they don't even know what they're reading. They don't even read it, most of them. They aren't who they used to be. And even if they are, some of them aren't good at acting anymore. The more corrupt they become, the harder it will be for these beings to hide who they really are. They want worship. This is why you're seeing the baton passed down to the younger ones. They did not want to be in old bodies anymore. So that's why they wanted to mix with us, to use the vessels of our children for a variety of purposes, to consume and to possess, so that they could have their time upon the earth. You don't have to believe me. It doesn't even matter. I mean, I hope that you observe the people around you that you love. I hope that you pray for everything and everyone that's important to you in your life. I hope that you take the time to pray. Don't let the world make you too tired to pray or to speak truth. And you'll see, the more that you get yourself rightly ordered in your words and your thoughts and your deeds, the more you'll observe around you. But it's heartbreaking. All you got to do is put all the pieces together. Where do you think all the missing people go? Come on, do you really think they just disappear? Where do they go, guys? A lot of them. Where do a lot of them go? Why are so many of them children? All you got to do is read the story of Hansel and Gretel to know the answer to that. That's the true definition of witch. Hansel and Gretel tells you the true definition of witch. Because if a witch is just somebody who plays with gemstones, has a staff, and wears a hood, then Moses was a witch. So you can't have both. There's nothing wrong with gemstones. There's nothing wrong with staffs. There's nothing wrong with covering your head. There is something wrong in doing harm, and doing harm to others for your own taste buds, your own benefit. I'm trying to say this in as many different ways as possible, and honestly, it is exhausting. I'm exhausted from all of this. And again, like I told you, the humans that they got involved in this, they're showing that they did their task by posting it on YouTube and all these other sources as found footage, as fake. Why do you think they're such good? Those kids can't act. They're terrible actors. Why do you think those found footage are so good? Because they're not acting. Those were their initiations into all of this time that you're seeing now unfold. But while the kids wanted to be popular and they wanted to be this, that, and the other, they did not know that they were agreeing to give their vessels over. First, he entered through the woman. Then he entered through the child. Women and child first. He likes man. Men are useful. They have muscles. They work. They do things. They could do without men or women and children, except for when you're talking about consummation. Then they like women and children. Do you see it yet? How many more cliches? How many more? And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth, which he created. But Noah found grace before the eyes of the Lord. And against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth. And he gave commandment to root them out of all their dominion. And he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth. And behold, they are bound in the midst of them and are kept separate. Holy wow, guys. Okay, so first of all, they're bound in the midst of us, but they're separated from us. He bade us. So who is the writer of this? Who wrote Jubilees? An angel or a regular person? Because he gave commandment to root out all of their dominion. The angels. He wanted the fallen angels, like this is explaining. Wow. He bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth, and against their sons went forth a command from before his face that they should be smitten with the sword and be removed from under heaven. This is Canaan too. This is like when he got rid of the Canaanites and everyone said, oh, God's just a maniac. Well, no, he's not. This is after centuries of patience. And he said, my spirit shall not always abide on man, for they are also flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. There it is again. Every man, woman, and child in the Old Testament was given 120 years. Everyone. And Christ says even more radical things, that some shall not even die until his second coming. Well, that's impossible. Really? Are we the same group that says, gee, Jay-Z looks like this black and white picture? Is he a time traveler? No, he's been here that whole time, because that's what Christ said would happen, that they would be here until he came back. Not everyone was bound, but we only know bits and pieces. This is why we're digging. Okay? Wow, that's crazy to me. And he sent his sword into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor, and they began to slay each other, so they all fell by the sword and were destroyed from the earth. So God, this is when it is not sinful, okay? Because God is like, no, they've spilled too much blood. It's a mandate from God. He's telling you this needs to be done. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction, and after this they were bound in the depths of the earth forever until the day of the great condemnation, when judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before the Lord. And he destroyed, boy, that's scary. And he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left one of them whom he judged not according to all their wickedness. And again, this is pre-Christ. He judged everyone there by their own works. Noah by his own works. And he made for all his works a new and righteous nature, so that they should not sin in their whole nature forever, but should be a righteous each in his kind always. Now there's a mystery. And he made for all his works a new and righteous nature. Maybe this is when we were born without horns. I don't know. And the judgment of all is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets in righteousness, even the judgment of all who depart from the path which is ordained for them to walk in. And if they walk not therein, judgment is written down for every creature and for every kind. And there is nothing, see, creature, every creature. And there is nothing in heaven or on earth or in light or in darkness or in Sheol or in the depth or in the place of darkness, which is not judged, and all their judgments are ordained and written and engraved. The place of darkness, which is not judged. Well, because it's a place, it's not judged. In regard to all, he will judge the great according to his greatness, and the small according to his smallness, and each according to his way. And he is not one who will regard the person of any, nor is he one who will receive gifts. So he's telling you, God can't be cheated, he can't be bribed, he can't be lied to. It is a lot like what you hear about in the 42 tenets of Mayot and the what is it? The scales of justice, because it's a scale, and justice is what? Lady Justice is what? She's blind. Doesn't matter who you are. They can't see that. It's just about if your heart outweighs the wickedness of your deeds. Okay? There's a reason that some of these things are common throughout a variety of different religions and places and spaces. Okay. Where was I? And he is not one who, okay, we did that. He's a righteous judge. And of the children of Israel it has been written and ordained, if they turn to him in righteousness, he will forgive all their transgressions. It is written and ordained that he will show mercy to all who turn from all their guilt once each year. Written and ordained that he will show mercy to all who turn from their guilt once each year. And as for all those who corrupted their ways and their thoughts before the flood, no man's person was accepted save that of Noah alone. For his person was accepted in behalf of his sons, whom God saved from the waters of the flood, on his account. For his heart was righteous in all his ways. See, Noah, it was his heart that was perfect, according as it was commanded regarding him, and he had not departed from aught that was ordained for him. Wow, so he was living in his path and his purpose. Please let that be me, Lord. I want to be under your blessing. And the Lord said that he would destroy everything which was upon the earth, both men and cattle and beasts and fowls of the air, and that which moveth on the air. And he commanded Noah to make him an ark, that he might save himself from the waters of the flood. And Noah made the ark in all respects as he commanded him in the 27th Jubilee of years, in the 5th week, in the 5th year. That's where the 555, the 5th week of the 5th year, on the new moon of the first month. 13:07 a.m., the 27th Jubilee of years. And he entered in the 6th year thereof, 13:08 a.m., in the 2nd month, on the new moon of the 2nd month, till the 16th. And he entered, and all that we brought to him into the ark, and the Lord closed it from without on the 17th evening. Now, I want to check something else out here. Okay, we're almost to chapter 6. And it talks about the animals and things like that. So we're going to pause here, I think. Now, this is the flood. This is the days of Noah, and this is where we are again. Only this time it shall be fire. Maybe they think they're safe under the water, and maybe in their own way they are. I don't know. What we haven't seemed to learn in the beginning is that there is no hiding from God. God knows where we're at. And everybody, you're the atheists. It's like they all have the same brochure. They say, well, why then did God, oh shoot, I just forgot what I was going to say. That's what I get for reading as I go along talking too. They always ask you like these same questions. Well, why did God come along and have to ask Adam and Eve where they were? If he was really God, shouldn't he have known that? He was asking for the sake of Adam and Eve. God doesn't ever have to speak. He's speaking for Adam and Eve's sake. So he's trying to get them to tell him what happened and tell him the truth. Okay? A lot of people just don't. I don't know, man. And again, the things that we're putting in our body are blinding us spiritually. The things you do physically have an effect spiritually. And that which you believe and accept and receive is going to start happening to you. But not like just the good things or whatever. It's do unto others as you'd have done to you, right? Christ told us. All right. I love you guys. Have a blessed day. Maybe we'll talk again soon. I don't know anymore. I don't know how I'm feeling about much anything, but you guys have a blessed day.